Hello everybody, let's talk about Warhammer 40k core rules as the first video in my new place. I'm not going to go through every single rule, so people have done that. I'm just going to talk about a few things in the rule book which I find interesting. Now this will be mainly in relation to the armies I run, because obviously I don't run other armies, so I don't know how it's going to be affected. Anyhow, let's start with unit coherency. Now, if you run a blob army like demons, Zangors, orcs, things like that, this is going to affect you, because now if you've got more than 6 men in a squad, you have to stay within 2 inches of 2 other units. This is going to introduce problems, I think, when it comes to melee, because as you know, melee gets a bit messy and it's very easy to get out of formation. Well, now you can't even, you can't even move into melee if you can't maintain that formation, because you've got to stay within 2 inches of 2 other units while you've got a big squad, which means the whole squad's going to be limited to who it can engage. You can have a 30-man squad, for example. You won't be able to wrap around the enemy like you were doing. You'll have to just bunch up at one side. This will make melee more drawn out, I think. This is one of the reasons why I think this particular rule won't last long. Because I think the second they start messing about like that, it'll get scrapped in one of the amendments, or in the future anyway, or changed at least. I can understand why they did it though, because people like stringing their units right across the battlefield. This will stop that. So yeah. The command points, 1 CP if you're battle force per turn. That's going to be good, except for the thing that the detachments now cost command points. In previous games, in the tournament type games, people would just choose detachments to get the command points for their army. In order to build up the army they wanted, loads of commanders, loads of specific units. Now it's going to cost them quite a lot of command points to do that. It's going to be expensive unless they go for the big squads, the big detachments, the brigades and stuff like that. Because the brigade detachment costs you 4 points, period, end of story. You'll get that back over the course of the game. But if you go for lots of smaller detachments, that's three command points each. Now you're not really going to benefit in the same way anymore. Now I've got to look up this properly, because I'm focused on the core rules here. But it strikes me that the command points there are basically favouring large, well-balanced armies. Armies which are built, with specific strategies in mind and now on the back foot. So whereas armies were built to have 6 infantry and so many elites and so many of this and so many of that all in one army, they're now on the rise. This is what I think anyway, it looks like that. Fortunately, I build all my armies that way. That's my ultimate goal, is to have a detachment that's big and I can swap things in and out. Although I do take smaller detachments occasionally when I need to. Psychic phase. Yeah, Thousand Sons have got it hard there, haven't they? The Brotherhood of Sorcerers rule's gone, so we're not getting any bonuses from that anymore. However, if you think about it, right, the Thousand Sons powers, whilst there are many, you don't really need that rule, because you can cast a lot of the spells, powers yourself without too much difficulty. Most of the best ones are buffs. They're to buff troops like warp time and things like that. And I found myself, using them more than anything else. They weren't that hard to cast, so I'm not sure that's going to be much of a punishment, but yeah, we are going to miss that bonus, that's for certain. When you combine that with the fact that you've got to have units in blobs, the Zangors are going to suffer a bit too, especially when we get to the blast weapon rule. So there's 2 rules there that affect Thousand Sons adversely, which he's thinking about. Now we come to shooting and blast weapons. Now if you imagine you've got your 30-man squad of Zangors and you teleport across the board, and your Imperial Guard friend has got 3 Russes, he's going to get maximum number of shots against that. He could potentially wipe out that whole squad in seconds. So the chances of large squads of Zangor being a thing in 9th edition has gone down considerably. it's probably going to be more a case of 10-man squads from now on, simply because blast weapons will decimate the army. So these large blobs, probably on the way out in 9th edition now because of these rules, the way they combine. I'm thinking, I mean, I'm fortunate, I made my Zangor blob in 3 squads of 10, and we were planning on getting another squad to make it up to 30 infantry in one big blob. But I know it adds up to 30 if you see 3 squads of 10, but I had leaders in each one and ones with horns in each one and stuff like that. So if you take them out, it was about 26 models, man. I was planning on getting another Zangor blob. No, I don't think I'll have to. I'll probably just field them as 3 squads. They'll count as 3 infantry, you see. So which is needed in the big detachments. So that works for me. But yeah, they would have got decimated by the blast weapons, definitely. You can see you can fire more than, if you've got more than one weapon, you can fire, it says them any targets, and even split fire. So if you've got an infantry model that carries a rifle and some other secondary gun, other than a pistol, you can't do it with a pistol, say a rifle and say, two rifles, he can shoot both of them at different targets. He can literally go bang, 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 you know, 2 different targets. Although it's more likely to be vehicles that benefit from that. So yeah, vehicle strong armies, but we could do that anyway, but that's not the point. Vehicles and monsters, that's an interesting one actually. Back in the day, I used to think to myself, maybe I should just go with, well, I used to think to myself, if I could see a target, I could shoot it. If there's a unit in front of it which I could destroy, I could then shoot at the unit behind. So what I would do is, I would say, right, I'm going to fire 3 shots at the unit in front to kill them off. Then if they die, my next 3 shots are going at the guy behind. Then later on, a clarification of the rules proved that you have to be able, the rules are very specific, you have to be able to see the target you're nominating, right, before you start shooting. So I got that interpretation wrong. Now something similar has come up with the vehicles. In combat, you're basically facing an army, and they're all around your tank, chipping away at your paint, and you've got to get rid of everything that's in melee with you before you can shoot out. But you can shoot out. It's the same situation, except if it's a tank or a large monster, which means if you wipe out everything around you, you can shoot targets further away. But given you've got to name the targets before you start shooting, that means you have to nominate which weapons are going to shoot what before you even know if the men around your tank are dead. So yeah, it's the same situation, it's a gamble. But if you think of, say, the Admech tank, the new one, says with these stubbers all around it, you could say the stubbers are going to shoot at the orcs around the vehicle, and the big weapons are going to fire at things further away. Right? Now if the stubbers get rid of the orcs, the big weapon gets to shoot. If they don't, the big weapon doesn't. So yeah, so there is that. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is heroic interventions. In the past, you would choose a unit to charge, they'd charge in. That unit would then only attack the unit it chose to charge. Couldn't attack anything else. Anything that heroically intervened was safe. You could intervene and attack the unit that just charged your men, and they couldn't attack back. Now they can. Now they can actually, the charge unit can attack the unit it chose to charge and the heroic intervention unit as well. So there's that as well. Although, to be honest, some of these rules are like they're written by somebody that didn't quite know how to phrase things, and it kind of goes on and on and on and waffles. And some of the amendments were simply there to simplify the rules because they were like mind-boggling what they were trying to tell me. This is in the core rules as well. So yeah, yeah. Anyway, the other thing is charging units don't have to see the unit they're charging. That's changed back and forth over the years, right? But it means you can deploy your men behind a building and charge out from the building, and the guy will have no chance of overwatch. So yeah, providing they can't see the unit they're about to charge them, they can't shoot because normal shooting rules apply. Now, this book here isn't that different from previous editions, in my opinion. A few changes, what I can tell, in the core rules anyway. I haven't read the rest of it yet. So I'm just wondering if it was even worth releasing a 9th edition, if that's the sum of the changes they've made. Yeah, GW do seem to be turning out books like crazy at the moment, I'm sure you agree. Anyway, the blast rule is going to decimate orcs, going to decimate demons. I think the era of the big mobs is probably over, unless you're fielding against forces that don't have blast weapons. In which case it's still here. So it's another paper, scissors, rock strategy, isn't it? Will it work, won't it work? It depends on who you're facing. I'm sure when everybody heard the blast weapons were coming back, we all thought the old discs would be back. We didn't expect this. I'm going to have to go through the rule books now, wherever I put them, and just put a little B next to all the weapons that I know have blast markers, because frankly, I'm never going to remember. Are you? These codexes, you know, they can't make that kind of change in the rules and not affect all the codexes in a substantial way. It puts you at a major disadvantage when you can't remember which one of your weapons is changed that substantially. AdMech, you know, the neuron laser, I believe that should be a blast weapon. That's a strength 10 hit, that is. You know, you get so many shots off of it. Now, I used to get a minimum of 3 shots off of that. So now that rule's shared with everybody else. It's not a special rule to that weapon, so I'm expecting that weapon to have dropped in price considerably, or a fair bit anyway, I'm hoping. I've got to update all my armies yet, and I keep a master list of units, you know, how much they cost and stuff. I update them when I build an army, just copy and paste the bits I want across. So I managed to keep things in fairly decent order. But I'm kind of hoping I don't have to update all the points cost in the back of the book, because in the old, what do they call it, the annual book with the points changes in it anyway, in that book, it says they just tend to have it just include the points of change and not all of them. So as a consequence, you only get half of the weapons in there. The other weapons don't seem to appear, or they didn't in the books I was reading. So I always had to go back to the codex, but it says they're all in this new book. So I don't have to do that anymore. I can just use that one book. But I should find that out for myself anyway. Like I said, coming back from the situation I was in before, you know, I'm a bit behind on some things. Armies I'm most interested in fielding are AdMech, but I still need that Psychic Awakening book to get the other units in them, and Thousand Sons. And Thousand Sons is a relatively new army in my thing, only a few years old, and I still haven't really explored all the options on it. Plus, I haven't played it since the Psychic Awakening book came out, and there's a whole new set of options in there. And I'm looking forward to exploring them alongside the 9th edition rules. And when I do, I'll make a video about it. See you in the next one.